Hey everybody, I wanted to do a video on this knife, the ZT-0223. Now, a few weeks back on Thursday Night Knives maybe, or maybe it was on one of the podcasts, I sort of lambasted this knife and wrote it off. Something about the design when it first came out, I know a lot of people feel this way. Polarizing design, you love it or hate it. I, on paper, hated it. I did not like looking at it. I thought it was goofy and unnecessary, and I just wanted something else from ZT in 2019. But this is what we got. It's designed by Tim Gallion, and it's inspired by military knives, the K-bar, but also the bayonet that's used on American rifles. I guess that's why this is the 0223. One of my great listeners / viewers, Stu from Vermont, he's got a great knife company called Stone and Steel, where he sells knives. He texted me, he's like, you might want to give the 223 another chance, or actually give it a chance. It's actually a really great knife and I love it. Let me send it along to you and hold on to it for a week and check it out. And so I've had it for 4 days now and I love it. I love it. I didn't think I would be saying that. I really didn't, but this is a great knife. Now, I sometimes am self-deprecating and I say I'm shallow when it comes to knives. So much of it has to do with aesthetic appeal to me and whether I like how something looks and feels, resonates. And if I don't like the way something looks, but it's a great knife, I'm still not going to carry it. And on paper, I did not like how this looked. I thought this was gimmicky, this wraparound G10, and I thought, oh, it'll be horrible where it meets in the seams. I saw these perforations in the blade, and I said, unnecessary, and I still feel that way. I don't like them as a flourish. It's the one design thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit, but it's not going to weaken the blade any, I realize now. When I first saw it, I was like, it's like a perforation. It's like writing a check, and then you fold it on the it's going to rip right. No. This is a stout piece of 20 CV steel. So once I got this thing in hand, I realized this is really a great knife. Okay, it was smaller than I expected. I mean, it's still a definitely full-size knife. Here it is against a Recon 1, another Bowie blade I love. Here it is with a CQC 13 from Emerson. So it's up there. That's a 3.6 inch blade. And it's a stout blade stock. And it maintains the thickness, almost full thickness up to the tip, almost like a Tanto. But man alive, is this thing sharp. I mean, this thing is sharp. Came right from the factory that way. I can tell this is a factory. It hasn't even been stropped. You can usually see shine where it's been stropped. Stu, thank you for sending this along. I absolutely love it. And he said you might be interested in actually getting one. And when I read that, I was like, that's presumptuous. But he was right. He was right. I love this jimping, this square cut jimping. Sort of like something you might see on a Tops knife or something. I like how it's placed just over the fuller here, the fuller which actually mimics the fuller on the K-bar, kind of neat. But I like how the jimping is not down here, where you're flipping, and you're not grazing it, and it's not even up here. It encourages you to thumb up there in the Filipino grip and really put pressure on that blade. And that jimping is very, very effective. It is holding my thumb in place, doesn't hurt, my soft hands, but it might if you have really, really tender hands. So very sharp blade, stout, great action. I mean, really great action. And has a solidity that I was not expecting. When I was being shallow with this knife and only looking at it, how it looked and judging it from there, it felt to me like it was going to be flimsy. But these handle slabs are just that. They are slabs, and they are not in any way lightened inside with pockets or anything like that. So this thing feels substantial in hand. And you know what? I didn't weigh it. I think it's about 5 ounces. I might be mistaken. But that's kind of what it feels like. Great in reverse grip. I love the shape of the handle back here. That's another thing I thought I didn't like, just looking at it. And that looks like it's going to be uncomfortable. It looks like it'll poke, and this curve is going to crowd my fingers and all this. But ergonomically outstanding, and in reverse grip really so, because you can hook your thumb over this little peak here and have control, and also be able to shore yourself up if you're stabbing into the top of a 55-gallon drum and you don't want your hand to come up over, get shredded on this, on the jimping on the flipper, and come down on this. You got your thumb hooked over here, you're fine, you're in place. Another thing I like about this, kind of like the 0620, it's a frame lock for sure, but the handle material acts kind of as a blade over travel, even though there, as you can see, there's a steel lock bar insert in there / over travel thing. Oh wait, actually I'm not sure if that is. Even if it isn't, this G10 is going to stop it. So I like this sort of hidden frame lock, because when you're deploying it, there's no risk of actually depressing the lock bar and slowing down the action. And yeah, I like that feature there. And like I mentioned before, I really like the fuller. And if you come down here to this little section of the fuller, I can get my finger in there to Spidey flick it, but it's not so strong, and frankly, I don't think it was really intended for that. So this Bowie shape I really like, and it reminds me of that Bowie shape. Shorter clip, whoops, sorry. I might want to put it on camera. Shorter clip, but kind of similar proportions. And then you've got this fuller here, kind of reminiscent of the fuller here. And then you have the leather stacked handled with the cutout grip grooves, and you've got kind of that same, well, you got this wraparound G10 kind of evoking the same thing. It's not, obviously it's not a 1-to-1, but it'll do until 1-to-1 gets here, man. So I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna buy this, but I am way more tempted than I ever thought I might be. Here, I'm gonna put it with some other cool looking Bowies. I love this Kaiser compadre, or wait, yeah, this is a compadre. I love that deeply recurved, kind of overly curvy Bowie blade. So yeah, primary way to open it is this thumb stud. Now this thumb stud begs you to light switch it. It almost insists, because if you push button, it's a little painful affair, and you don't get anything out of it. The D10 is so nicely tuned. All you got to do is just tug back on it, and it's gonna pop right out. One thing I like, listen to this. All right. Well, it has a slightly metallic sound when you release the lock, but not up here. But if you come back here. All right, that's just nerdy and getting into the weeds, and you're not going to be able to hear it anyway, but trust me. This knife, I have to say, just like Stu said to me, you got to give this knife a chance. If you like Bowies, if you like ZT, you're going to like this knife. If you like titanium frame lock flippers with high-quality steel and great design. If this were my design, I would do, which it isn't, and so I don't mean to speak out of school, but I would just simplify. There are just visually one too many elements. You got this, which is unusual. Okay, you've got the jimping, which is awesome but unusual. You got the hole cut. You got these 5 holes there. You've got this this notch, which is evocative of like a shell extractor. So to me, it's great design +1. I would get rid of this here, the shell extractor and holes thing, or maybe not even the shell extractor, maybe just the holes. But I would simplify by 1 degree if I were the designer. But all that being said, it is definitely not a deal breaker. This is a great knife in hand, and man, it cuts really well. And I'll tell you what I've cut so far. I've cut meat with it, steak, uncooked steak, and it was like it wasn't even there. And I've cut very thin and stretchy saran wrap, and that's oftentimes my acid test, and this blade flew through it like it wasn't there. Love it, love it, love it. So I don't know, I might take up Stu on his offer to help me get one of these, but man alive, I'm so glad you sent it to me, Stu. Thanks a lot. That's the ZT0223, an excellent and surprising knife.